Instead of doing a monthly wrap up of the decks that I worked with, I thought this month I would try more along the lines of seeing kind of on a weekly, maybe bi weekly basis on the deck pairings that I'm working and my thoughts and process with them. Hey everyone, and welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you're new. Hi, I am Man. So today I want to talk about a deck pairing that I started working with at the start of the year. So my practice last year and pretty much this year is kind of similar, but I'm definitely tweaking it a lot more this year because I want to dive into my decks a lot more, the ones that I have, because last year I didn't get as much of a chance. And so I wanted to talk about, instead of just doing an entire monthly wrap up and then trying to remember the deck pairings that I worked with and my thoughts, and then just doing like a whole 40-minute rambling. Not that there's anything wrong with that, by the way, okay? I do love a good monthly wrap up for sure. But I thought I'd just kind of just show the pairings as they are, and then what my thought process was. Did they work? Did they not work? Did I like it? What would I have done differently? So if that's your jam, then yeah, grab a snack, grab a drink, and we will get into the deck pairing that I am talking about. Okay, so the decks that I'm on about, and I think I mentioned them at the start here, I can't remember. Anyway, is the Green Witch Tarot. Apologies, the box is absolutely massive, so it's really difficult to show. I think everybody knows at this stage. It is a Llewellyn publication, in case maybe you haven't heard about this deck and you want to know. There you go. And I paired them with a Witch's Ally Oracle. So I've had the Green Witch for a couple of years now. 3 or 4 years, I would say. And then this one just came in, I think, right before Christmas. I think it was just before Christmas this one came in, and this is also by Llewellyn, and it is a new release as well. This one was kindly sent to me by Llewellyn for review. Now I've done my walkthrough and stuff like that, and so I am just looking at the top of these and I'm like, why are they gone? Do you see that? Anyway, I wouldn't say I don't riffle shuffle these, so I have no idea. Anyway, it doesn't really matter. So these are Witch's Ally Oracle. They are on the glossier side, so they're picking up the lamp. And this is a Green Witch Oracle. The Green Witch Oracle. No, Tarot. Brain today, please cooperate. And so what I have started doing is, if you haven't seen my journal ecosystem plans, intentions for the year, I don't know if I'm going to fully go through with all the journals that I had, but they were kind of just my intentions and what I'd like to do. I'll make sure to pop it up here somewhere. I had quite a lot of journals, and I'm getting to the stage where so I don't know how many days at this stage into the new year, and I'm already overwhelmed with how many I've picked out. So journals, that is, that I'm like, right, you need to relax it for a second. But what I have been doing is, so I started this journal last year as kind of like a bullet type journal that I wanted, but then I was kindly gifted a Hobonichi for my birthday, and so this one kind of fell to the wayside, and I was only just dipping in and out of it. And this year I'm kind of just using this for like my year ahead reading. And what else do I have in this? I think I have my, like the full moons of the year and the new moons of the year. And then the decks that I'm working with, or intend to work with the month, I've written them down. And then I've like written like a page on my thoughts on the decks that I have worked with, so I don't forget, because that can happen sometimes. Like, we work with a pairing and we forget how we felt about it, we have like an inkling, but sometimes, I mean, look, unless you've like extremely good memory, I know sometimes I definitely don't, and I'm like, I know I liked it, but I can't remember why. So this is the whole point, is to just kind of talk about this. So I do want to shuffle these up just to give them a fair chance. So they're the backs of a Witch's Ally. And then this is Mole. I'm trying to keep it from the lamp so it doesn't get too glossy or shiny. Oh my goodness, so all the cards are popping out because Witch's Tarot is Green Witch's Tarot is very, very chatty for me. And I'm going to zoom you guys in just the teeniest bit. Lovely. So we can see the cards at the very least anyway. So if you haven't already, hydrate. This is so important. You guys, I'm using a glass. I decided, I can't be constantly using my plastic bottle. I have nice glasses. I can use them. So this pairing, it was a miss for me. I'm going to start off with that straight away. I love each of these decks individually. Together, they didn't pair. Do you know the way sometimes you have like a whole story in your head of how this is going to work together and they're just going to be wonderful and beautiful. And then it does not work out how you had visualized it for the cards to work out. And so the Green Witch, as most of you know at this stage, is one of my favorite tarot decks. I love it. It's like coming home. I'll just show you some of the cards while I'm chatting. It's always like such a grounded deck. It helps keep me centered, especially, after 2025, once we moved into 2026, I felt very ungrounded, not present at all, just kind of like overwhelmed by the month of January. I can't say I'm completely over that, but I'm definitely feeling more in check. And that's what that deck does for me. It helps keep me in check, I suppose, or just helps me be mindful and reminds me why I should be mindful and why I should be grounded and centered in my way of being, right? And it just brings me back to myself. Now, this is a new deck, right? So I'm still understanding its language. Does that make sense, so to speak? So every deck to me definitely has its own way of speaking and how it likes to communicate. That's just the way I can describe it. And I'm still getting used to this. I very much, I'll be honest, rely on the guidebook for this one because I feel like the messages are very good. They're very good inside the guidebook. I like the sigils as well on the side. And so I was like, okay, so this is Green Witch and then this is Witch's Allies. So like it's nature based, it's animals, this is nature and herbs and there's animals in it. And so they're going to pair wonderfully, right? They're going to work together. They're going to be so happy. They're going to be the best of friends. It's going to be like an added family member. That was not the case at all by any means. None whatsoever. So I'm going to flip through the cards and kind of explain to a certain extent kind of how I felt about these pairings. So the way I worked with these the last week or two, I think it was 2 weeks I worked with these, is just daily card draws. I didn't want to start my year off like I did my year ahead reading. That is the only thing that I would say would be one of my biggest readings. Other than that, it's just daily card draws. So I draw 1 or 2 tarot cards and then an oracle card. It worked and it didn't work. I wouldn't say they were complete opposites and they didn't, complement each other, but they definitely didn't sit right. Does that make sense? So even though like imagery wise they look very good, it looks aesthetically very pleasing, and while aesthetics is wonderful, it's not really necessarily practical at the same time. I pick, if I had to choose, I would, as much as I love my aesthetics, I would pick practicality and what works over, again, aesthetically, what looks good on camera or in person. And so I found that these two, both individually, had great messages, but together, it just didn't blend. It's like they both had very good and very valid messages that they were trying to bring forward, but then you put them together to try and combine the message, as an extended message for you or some guidance or whatever may be the case, right? And it just didn't really work. So look, we'll pick the High Priestess because it's one of my favorite cards in tarot. I have the guidebooks here beside me. So just so we can get an idea, like even intuitively, I find it very difficult to actually work with them. So like my high priestess is all about, you know, intuition and really tapping into that very intuitive side to us, right? Oh, sorry, I'm on the high priest. I knew that was wrong. I was like, hold on a second, that's not right. Oh, there we go. So that's the whole blurb there. I mean, I'm not really wanting to read that. So really it's like trusting intuition. This is kind of the way I was working with it. So I might just quickly glance through it. Glance through this, see what kind of pops out. Because when I'm doing daily cards, I really just want kind of quick messages, quick hits, you know. And here, so I see like consecration and psychic power, lunar energy. Okay, so trusting intuition, insight, secrets revealed, keeping it confidence, perception, hidden truths, occult studies, destiny revealed, psychic dreams, psychic ability, being between the worlds, receiving divine inspiration, spiritual development. You get it, right? And so then we go to Toad. And I love this guidebook. I think it's just such a beautiful guidebook. And then this is enchantment, right? So we have sorcery, cunning, familiar, medicine. So a witch takes form of a toad. So then you have your description, your natural history, and then so a small amount of something toxic can heal, a large amount can harm. So do not overexpose yourself to potential dangerous situations. These are parts of yourself that you need to appreciate for what they are. The pursuit of your magic is in unlikely places. So do you see what I mean when I say like they kind of work, but they don't work, right? I feel like both of them have great messages, but trying to fit them together, it just wasn't clicking for me. There was no instant, yes, I love this. Sometimes I pair decks and I love the pairing and I really just do not want to. Yeah, even Miss Frankie agrees. Sometimes I just don't want to part with them because I love the connection that I have with that pairing. And so this year, and last year I did a bit, but this year I'm definitely not pushing myself to have to change a pairing just because I feel like I need to change it up. Sometimes it's good to work with a pairing for a good while and really get to know it. This year is definitely no pressure. No pressure to perform or go, you know the way some people said, like, I want to read 120 books this year. I'll be happy if I read 10 books this year because I've set, like, I think last year I set like 20 books. I didn't even read half of that, I don't think, last year. Honestly, I just didn't have the feckin' time. And so it's the same with like the deck pairings. But back to my thought process here. Man, to focus. I just felt myself forcing myself to work with this. While I enjoyed connecting with the cards, and I love both of the decks individually, but together, it's literally a meh pairing for me. Now, again, this is my opinion. I should have stated this at the start. Please don't be watching this going, but I like how they pair. That's totally fine. Absolutely, completely fine. And I love that. And I'm jealous, to be honest, because I wanted, when you really want a pair to work so damn well. And it just didn't. Now, I don't know. Maybe these two are kind of, in one way, in their own sense, like very seasonal. So maybe January wasn't the month that they kind of want to work together. I've had that happen. I've had decks where I've tried pairing them together one month and they didn't work, and then I was like, feck it, I'm trying again, and then they worked the next month, right? And so that's kind of just where I'm coming from with this. It's like, just because it didn't work this month doesn't mean, let's say for example I tried it in summer and it could work wonderfully in summer and the energy just suits it better. I definitely feel energetically I work with my decks like that, very seasonally, very much how I'm feeling on that basis. I clearly wasn't ready for the two of them to work together, or these two just clearly didn't want to work together, and that's totally fine. That absolutely happens when it comes to these decks, because just because you think, oh, they're going to work because, they're both witchy decks and, both kind of color palette wise, they match. doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to work. I think we figured out at this stage I've quite an eclectic choice in my pairings, and yet they somehow still work. So I think I'm going to try and stick with that. But again, I want to push myself out of my comfort zone. I want to, explore and challenge myself and see what works. So you know what, just for the sake of trying one more time. Oh yeah, and another thing I actually wrote down, and I feel like it's very important to say while I'm on this, is, together the messages seem muddled, right? They weren't kind of very clear. It wasn't even a case where you could journal on it. It just, together they didn't work. They didn't click. There were two different pieces. But I also found that the Green Witch can be very loud in its own way, and this had its own messages, but the Green Witch was just overshadowing the messages from the Ally Oracle, right? So that's kind of where I was at with this. I really didn't want it to be overshadowed by the Green Witch, because I felt like this has its own voice that needs to be heard too. So let's see. Don't tell me I'm going to get, I feel this one. Don't tell me I'm going to get a pairing now that works and going, well, that just puts everything I said. So we have 6 of Wands and we have Dog. Oh, for God's sake. No, it's just because this is the wands, the stick. I'm like, oh my gosh, the white, the purity. So I'm going to do this a different way. I'm going to read the Oracle first. Normally I read the tarot card first and then the Oracle. So today, just to change it up, we have companionship, loyalty, protection, service, faithfulness. So if you want to pause and read all that, please feel free to do so. And then we have the folklore in Scotland. Stop, I want to go back to Scotland so bad. Pay attention to the subtle cues and body language of the folk around you. No, stop that now. Why are you doing this to me? These actions speak louder than their words. Give your love unconditionally and your loyalty generously. Guard and protect those who would do the same for you. Right? So let's have a look at the 6 of Wands. Again, I'm only going to just look at the quick meaning here, right? The quick message. So the meaning is a victory in career or creative enterprise, public recognition, acclaim, job well done, efforts rewarded, goals achieved after difficulties, acknowledgement, honours, advancement, successful expression, career goals achieved, gains from one's own efforts, and then you've career victory and public acclaim. So again, while it kind of works, I still would say it doesn't click for me personally. So let me know, have you worked with this pair? Do you have these decks? Would you pair them together? And if you did something a little bit different, let me know. I'd love to hear all about it. So thank you so much for hanging out with me. I appreciate it so very much. And as always, I hope you have a wonderful day, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. Remember, stay magical, and I'll see y'all in the next video. Bye guys.